quiet seaside town, an evil laid to rest centuries ago, has risen. An abandoned fortress deep in the swamp holds a secret that could save the village or destroy it. Now, a band of adventurers sets out to dig up the wounds of the past and bring the light of day to the roots of ruin. This is Tabletop Gold.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Tabletop Gold, episode 74. My name is Lars Casteen. I'm your game magistrate and your host of this show, and I'm excited to have you here for an episode that I am maybe both more prepared for and less prepared for than any other episode of this show that we have yet done. I've thought about the things that are going to happen on this episode so much, and I have no confidence that any of it's going to work out. We're going to have a great time tonight. Let's meet our players. Robin Lange is here.
Will we or won't we come up with more characters that you need to make up names for?
Oh, probably.
Definitely will.
Probably
That's a will.
so.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that.
Yes, making Lars come up with names on the spot. My favorite.
I'm great at it. And its fallout is something that our listeners love. Zoe Chernicoff
More
is here.
Galtian accents.
Hello, it's me.
It's me. You know who else it is? It's David the Tin Man Chernicoff.
Yeah, good that time. Lars, did it help you to prep for the show to exchange 25,000 Discord PMs with me today about various character-related possibilities?
You know,
Was that a good part of your prep?
I'm going to be totally honest with you. What that wound up eating into was my time editing the last 3 episodes that I'm behind on because I haven't been able to work on anything because my child has been home with hand, foot, and mouth disease for the last 400 years, it feels like. So I'm a little bit behind. I'm still slightly... I'm projecting a real sense of neurosis and lack of confidence today. I don't really know why exactly I'm doing that.
It's 2022, aren't we all?
It is 2022. It's a nice October time. David, I loved chatting with you today, and I'm so excited for the things that we talked about to come to fruition on the show.
Same here, man. And I'm pleased to hear that there was no cost to it, right? It didn't disrupt anything important.
Right. I guess that's one way of looking at it. Armat Humphreys is here.
Good that time to you, Lars, and everybody.
Good that time. Whatever time it is, good that time.
I like to think we were all harassing Lars today with questions on the Discord.
Zoe mercifully left me alone. Armat did too. I think it
Because
was...
Zoe couldn't do anything for herself today.
That's right. I ate lunch at 4:30. It was, It came at 2. I got an arepa. It was so good. I love arepas, guys. Arepas are like my favorite. Came at 2 and I managed like a bite every 15 minutes until 5 when I was like, well, now we've gotten into dinner territory. It's time to we gotta commit. It was a good arepa.
Good, because by the end it just sounds like the coldest, most solid arepa.
Robin, that's how she likes them. She loves a cold arepa, my wife.
A cold arepa. That's what my tombstone will say.
I love a cold
I
arepa.
loved a cold arepa.
Loved a cold arepa.
Oh, a first-person tombstone. That is innovative.
That's true. Not many people go first person on the tomb. Which is
loved
weird.
a cold arepa.
Why not?
No, I loved a cold arepa. I like that.
Here lies me.
You're at my grave now.
What up? Thanks for stopping by.
Good that time, mourner.
Oh, man. Tombstones, huh?
Yeah.
Dark mood today, it sounds like. People are going
and this is
through
all
it.
after we've gotten through it into the entire first book of the AP.
Yeah. I think
Heck
that's
yeah.
actually a really good point. I want to hang a little bit of a lamp on that. We're basically done with
Gauntlet,
I'm sorry,
if you will.
Is that not the right phrase? Who knows? There's no way to know. Don't talk to me. You know, you're an English teacher. You know all kinds of things that I frankly will never know and don't care about. I think it's reasonable for us to shout out James Jacobs for his book, The Ruins of Gauntlet, the first book of this incredible adventure path that we're playing through.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
It was so fun.
It's really I like that you had fun playing it. I think it's really fun to run. I'm having a really good time with this campaign. I've never been one for dungeon crawls, and this dungeon crawl, the way that I talk, it's the thing I say all the time when we talk about this, but the way that the blueprints map onto story structure in this place is just so cool to me. It's like a way of telling stories that it's like so specific to tell a story in the way that this adventure tells this story that you need like 5 people and a year to like get through it. It's such a like ridiculous medium, but I feel as though this adventure leans into the strengths of the dungeon crawl so well. And now that we're done with this first book, it's like it's a little bit bittersweet. I'm excited to see where we go next. We've got the next book that Vanessa Hoskins wrote, which is called Something. Don't know. No idea what book 2 is called. Let's look that up on on the Paizo website.
How you'd know that off the top of your head?
I don't.
Like, is this going to be? Is this the end of our first season? Have we just like finished a season?
I think you could say that. I think that's a totally reasonable thing to say. Like the way that I've been thinking about last episode was that it was kind of like a season finale, and I think this episode is sort of. You'll see what it is, but I'm thinking about it.
Is this the Christmas special?
Ways. This is
Or
it's the Christmas special.
The like in reality TV when the cast gets together.
Right.
The reunion
show.
The reunion show. There we go.
I like that. Yep.
And what's his name? Andy. What's his
Andy
name?
Cohen.
Yes.
Yep.
Is
Lars is our
like
Andy Cohen.
officiating. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, except that where I flamed out and lost my job working in television, Andy Cohen became the god of TV forever. So it's sort of a different trajectory.
Now that would be a hell of a tombstone.
The god of TV forever.
No, whereas I flamed out and lost my career in television, Andy Cohen became
Cohen.
Very
just
long.
that on your tombstone.
More like Watch What Happens Undead.
Oh,
Am I right?
Perfect. Yes,
There it is.
It is. You are right. The name of this book that we're about to start in on is Hands of the Devil by Vanessa Hoskins. So thank you so much to James Jacobs for your work on Ruins of Gauntlet. It has been a joy to play,
Yes.
and it has been like I feel so fortunate that I'm able to like produce this podcast, that we're all able to like make this show together using like the text and adventure design of somebody who knows what they're doing. It's like it's very, very nice, and sort of a standing on the shoulders of giants thing. So thank you, James Jacobs, for writing a great book that I
And
love.
just kind of playing
You're
it and looking at it from a from an analytical English teacher perspective as
Let's do it. Yeah.
as I adjust my
yes,
glasses.
Yes.
It
Quite right.
honestly does. Like it does feel like you're playing through a novel, which is fantastic. There's with all the twists and turns, and it's like the type of thing where when you go back over things, you realize the things that you've missed. Like when you read through a novel multiple times, particularly fantasy adventure novels. I went to a webinar today about using. Which I'm constantly going to webinars like this about using tabletop role playing in the classroom because I'm trying to figure out how to do that more to improve student writing. And I'm thinking so much about how this all plays into our creative sense in writing and improv and the mental flexibility.
Yeah.
And so that's just on the player's aspect, but a well-written adventure path like this opens the player up to that so much more as well. So this was such a joy.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the remainder of the thing, and maybe we should just move on into it now, if that's cool with y'all. We got a lot of stuff going on today, but before we do any of that, let's talk about some reviews. I want to thank everybody who has left a review of Tabletop Gold at their podcast app of choice, such as this review that came in from Mother Tucker on Apple Podcasts Canada.
Do you see what they did there?
I get it.
I like it.
I think I get it. No, I get it. And they say
Are you sure?
This is a very well produced actual play with great players and characters and a stellar GM. Very nice, straightforward to the
I
point.
agree. I agree.
The Canadian special, just saying what needs to be said and moving
I
on.
see what they did there. Thank you.
Thanks.
I love
Yes,
Canadians.
thank you so
Thanks,
much
Canada.
for
Thank
leaving that
you
review. And
very
thanks to
much.
everybody who leaves reviews for us. It's incredibly helpful. It's like the one way that we can make the apps like actually work for us. So
yeah.
That and direct Venmo payments of cash.
sure.
And this is super late, but we're recording this right after Canadian Thanksgiving. When this is airing, this is going to be well past Canadian Thanksgiving, near American Thanksgiving, probably close to American Thanksgiving. But when we're recording this, it was just Canadian Thanksgiving. So happy late Canadian Thanksgiving to all our Canadian listeners.
Happy late Canadian Thanksgiving.
LCT, as I always think of it.
Yep. LCT.
Happy LCT.
Happy LCT, everybody.
Happy LCT.
LCT.
Let's get into it. Let's play our game. Belcora Haravex's ancient weaponized lighthouse Gauntlight has finally had its sinister light extinguished, and the town of Otari is safe for the time being. You've managed to end the immediate threat to this town, but while Gauntlight doesn't presently shine, you have learned that Belcora's spirit dwells deep below the areas you've explored. Just as you're settling in for some celebration and preparation for the next push into the lighthouse's mysteries, a strange gnome with orange hair has shown up looking for Tril. Robin, would you mind starting us off today?
The sun shines through the blossoms of the apple trees, laying patterns on the ground. Reclining in the mild spring day, Tril finds her younger self plucking on her old harp, while Fidget, her teacher, plays his lute, filling the air with light-hearted songs about travel and adventure.
Where do the birds fly when they're not in Cheliax, Fidget?
Tril asks, her purple and blue hair a tangled mess around her. The scene is familiar. She's had this dream many times. The memory is a happy one she often revisits. She lays down her harp to pick some apple tree twigs and flower petals from the knots that never seem to stay away. I've seen flocks of sparrows flying across the sea towards the Mwangi expanse in my travels, Fidget replies. A disappointment in my heart. I never set foot on that storied continent. Maybe one day, Trilphus, your voice will carry you there. Tril looks up from the blue knot of hair she's untangling, eyes sparkling at the idea.
Another continent? Do you think I could travel that far?
As she speaks of travel, the sky changes. The blue sky of her happy Brasselrack shifts and the ground under Tril ripples. She looks to Fidget for help, but his shock of orange hair is nowhere to be found. Instead, the apple trees grow into the masts of a ship, the blossoms growing ominously into sails buffeted by the wind of a storm. Tril finds herself in the crow's nest of a ship, battened to the railing and frantically playing her harp to inspire courage for the crew.
I know this memory,
she whispers to herself. The ship is familiar. It's the one she took to Absalom. And this was the storm that nearly killed them all. The winds whip around her, churning the water and raising the waves above the side of the boat. A high-pitched screeching sound works its way through the whistling of the winds, turning into a laugh. Tril continues to play, but is sure she sees a woman in the wind. A horrifyingly beautiful woman. In one moment, she's made of blood. In another, she looks like something out of a painting, a voluptuous blonde in a burgundy gown calling to Tril, "Find find me. The woman's laughter and the lightning overwhelm Tril's senses, and a flash of light forces her to close her eyes as an onslaught of salty air and water attack the boat again. As she opens her eyes, the flashing lights transport Tril again. Now, they're accompanied by a throbbing, thrumming sound. The beat drives into her bones and bodies push around her. The club. She remembers. Colored lights still flash. She notices a goblin alchemist throwing powders into the firing lights of the club to create a pyrotechnic show to accompany the pounding music, causing cheers from the bodies dancing around her. The eyes of the dancers are dilated. Tril knows things are about to get ugly in this club. This is not a good memory. She needs to get out. She needs to leave Absalon. This is why she left Absalon. Places like this are not where she wants to be. Tril runs toward a door but finds it locked. There's another one next to that one, locked. And another one, locked. When was there a hall of doors in this club? And why are they all locked? The music continues to pound in her ears as she frantically tries to run from this memory. At the end of the hall, she sees a door with a light under it and vines coming through the edges. Ominous, yes, but it seems quieter at that end of the hall. Tril tries the handle. The door opens. She steps through and is immediately relieved that the music stops. She's in a swamp. The door is gone. The moon shines through the trees, and mist floats along the boggy ground. It's now eerily silent. Circling around, Tril looks for any evidence of a trail or a path to help her find her way out of the swamp, but she's lost. After taking a few steps, a cloud passes the moon, fading the light. Tril is becoming desperate. Then, a light appears through the swamp. Perhaps it's another traveler. Tril begins hopping from stone to log to stone, finding her way through the swamp. The light grows stronger and larger. Wait, is it moving towards her? A humming accompanies the light. Oh no. She knows this swamp. It's the swamp outside Otari. That light isn't a traveler. The light glows and clearly appears to Tril. A ghostly face appears in it. The light is a wisp, and it can sense her fear. No, she cries, pulling out her harp, attempting to embolden herself and ward off the evil lights. Then, the face changes. It's not a face in the light of the wisp anymore. It's Haplo's body on the floor of the workshop, with the squawking of Mr. Beak echoing around her. Haplo's dead body, the death she couldn't stop. Tril runs towards Haplo. As she reaches the ghostly form, it changes and becomes the shifting form of Ayo and Norman, bathed in blue light, dead on the stone floor of the lighthouse. But this isn't a memory. This is a premonition? Tril looks up, tears in her eyes, towards the sky. Why are you showing me this? In a flash, Norman and Ayo become Vadim, covered in his own blood on a muddy surface. Sobbing, Tril goes to put her hands on his leather armor improved by Mag's skills. As that thought passes her mind, and as her hand touches the ghostly Vadim's chest, the image changes one last time. An image Tril can scarcely look at. The massive form of Mag, her dear Mag, suddenly looks so small and weak, defeated and dead under her own hands. Is this her future? Her magic won't work. It isn't enough. Is anything enough? Her magic won't work. Out of tears, Tril screams, a dark glow emanating from her. And then she wakes up. Was I screaming, she wonders? Tril goes to the bowl of water on the bureau to clear her mind and wash away the dark dream. As she splashes water on her face, she catches her own reflection in the mirror and is shocked by new streaks of black in her purple and blue hair.
I love it.
Yes.
Bravo.
That was so. I was so excited when you sent it to me this morning, and I'm so excited to hear it come to life like that. Like I feel like that was lovely. Thank you so much, Robin.
I started getting a little teary towards the end there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gets emotional.
Yes. So,
Yeah, I
as
hope that isn't a real premonition.
me too.
Hey, she said it. I got to put it in the game now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
So, as Tril gets herself ready, she kind of very shaken by all of this. Gets her, does her whole morning routine, and still quite early because she's gotten herself up early. Not sure if anyone else is awake into town, but she's staying in a room above Crow's Cask and heads downstairs and goes out. Magaloy's not up yet. They don't really do breakfast at Crow's Cask. And she goes outside to see if she can find anyone.
Well,
Or heads downstairs.
before you can get outside, you see that gnome man again sitting at the bar. He's there waiting for you.
Care of the dog.
He looks at Tril and he says,
Well, Tril, you're up early, aren't you?
"Who is this person, Robin? Who is this person that we met last week who is in your dream and is now staring at you from this empty bar?"
Fidget! You came!
Because if we remember, Tril sent out a mysterious letter a long time ago.
I do remember that.
Speaking of the story feeling like a novel and all kinds of early breadcrumbing,
Yeah.
I remember that trip to Galentine delivery.
let's reap
Oh,
some
yeah.
seeds.
How
Um,
long ago did Tril go to Galentine's?
It was around 4 days ago. The news travels fast. Don't worry about it. Don't look it up.
How many episodes though? I mean,
300 episodes ago.
yeah. That was all the way in season 1.
Yeah, it felt a
Yeah.
long time ago.
Yeah. But Fidget looks at you, smiling from sitting at this bar, and says,
I'm saying you're up early because I actually did not go to sleep at all. It was nice catching up with you last night, Tril.
"Fiss."
I gotta be honest, I have trouble remembering what we even talked about last night.
What I can tell you,
How do I get this voice going?
what I can tell you is
You're not speaking in rhyme. That's the problem.
I was
No,
told
he's
not
not.
to speak in rhyme. There was something you wanted to talk to me about, and you said you would talk to me about it in the morning, and now I've waited for you to wake up in the morning, and you can lay it upon me. What is it that you have requested me here to this horrible backwoods to do?
Fidget, I think I need your help. I've done a good job of remembering all that you taught me and of learning and doing all the things that a good bard is supposed to do. But I don't think it's enough, and I don't think the things that I've always known are enough. I have this one spell, for example, that I've always known, but it's kind of become useless. And I I need your help getting better, getting stronger. I can't lose any of my friends. We're going to have to keep going back to that terrible place. And I need to do something. I need to figure out how to be better.
Well, Tril, although this terrible place seems as though it has given you a font of adventure, I'm somewhat worried about this streak of black hair that you suddenly have. That's somewhat concerning.
It's, yeah, we can deal with it later.
Okay, if you're unhappy with the magic that you've unlocked within yourself, I may be willing to help you. I've traveled all this way, after all.
That would be wonderful. I mean, you've seen so much. You've been around this world so many times. You've seen so many different places. And I was hoping you could help me retrain.
Here's the deal I'll strike with you. Give me 28 days, and I'll have you casting the spells you truly wish to cast. What is it exactly that we're doing in terms of changing out spells? And why do I have to be here for it?
There's this one spell that I think I could learn if I really tap into my earliest gnome senses. I believe it's my first world gnome senses.
That sounds correct.
I believe it's my first world gnome. My first world magic. And I believe I could learn with your help.
Yes.
What's it called again?
Well,
Divine Arc?
if you're retraining a spell, chances are you're looking for Electric Arc. Some call it the best spell in the game.
I think if I tapped into my first world magic, with your help, I could learn Electric Arc.
Yes. If you have the electricity inside yourself, with 28 days, I will set it free.
Oh, I don't think I have the frost inside me, because that's not been helping me at all.
Yes. Not a good spell, necessarily. Oh, yes. So 28 days of time for me to retrain your spell. And I also saw a sign from the mayor saying that the quote-unquote Otari Memorial 500 is happening in exactly 28 days' time, too.
Oh, yeah, that was my idea.
Oh, well, I was going to say that was an incredible coincidence, but I suppose this is the magic within you guiding you to a serendipitous conclusion of two long-term projects at the same time.
Yes. Oh, I'm so happy you came here just at this time.
Robin, do you think Fidget has a catchphrase?
No.
So he wouldn't say something like, he wouldn't say, zippy, zippy, zoo, and end the scene? No?
How dare you?
I didn't know. I asked
He's far
a
too well
question.
traveled for that. He's far too well traveled for that.
I suppose we'll have to tell your friends that it's time to take a little break to tap into the magics dwelling within you.
I think if they know it's to keep them safe, I think they'll be okay with that.
Good. Go tell them and return to me when you are ready to begin the arduous, is that a word? Arduous?
Arduous, yeah, you got it.
When you're ready to carry out the arduous training that such a thing requires due to this innate magic being something that you're not technically allowed to retrain, but that I can help you unlock the powers. You get it. See you later. Bye.
This is so exciting. Thank you.
And Tril steps outside of Crow's Casks and finds herself looking at the morning light of the 27th of Gosrin. It's a toil day. It's around 60 degrees today. It's cloudy. It's windy.
Dew point?
Well, it's an average dew point of 49.4, a low dew point of 44, and a high of 55. I'm so glad you asked.
Prepared today.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
You really do have a lot going on over there.
It's the first thing that Tril notices as she steps out on this cloudy and windy day is that there are kites in the air. Because today is a holiday.
Oh, right! Today's that kite day!
Today is the Absalomian holiday, the Gala of Sails. It's a day when people battle specially designed kites against each other. And as Tril looks...
S-A-I-L-S.
Yeah, it's a celebration. It's a Gazrin to Ramazrin over here. Happy Honda days.
It's Prime Day in Galarian.
Down at the waterfront, if you look down the hill of the town down into the inner sea, you see a woman has tied a number of kites off to a fence, and it looks like it's Alimora Inkelholtz with her curly, dirty blonde hair, who you may know is always looking to bring some culture to this small town. She bought a number of these nice-looking kites during a recent trip to Absalom, and she's down there on the docks, already at this early hour, teaching some of the town's children how to fly the kites, and some of them are even timidly battling them against each other. It's the morning. Is the party meeting? Are you guys going to meet up with each other? What are you doing?
Tril's off looking for everyone. Because Tril can't remember anything, because Tril too many drinks.
Yeah, so this day is probably getting started a little bit late because of the festivities. You see that there are a couple people passed out, especially around the Rowdy Rockfish. There are a couple old timers, their chairs still set up on the ceiling, on the roofs of their houses, calling your name as you walk through the streets. Last night was the most fun Otari has had in quite some time. And it's really only the kids that are up at this point, but with a little bit of work, the four of you are able to reconvene an hour or so later. But where?
Rins?
Yeah, probably Rins.
You meet outside the tent of Rin's Wonders. Rin steps out, says to Tril, "You've done something quite incredible. I, of course, always knew. The stars foretold."
Oh, it's just a new hairstyle.
No. I'm talking about the thing. She points back to the lighthouse.
With that, Ao kind of comes out bedheady, but still Ao, not Norman. She's sort of like looking admiringly at Rin's back. She's like, Yeah. Hey, Rin, could we talk later? I mean, Rin and Ao?
Yes, of course. I'm always happy to hear what's going on with you.
You could offer like some really sage advice because you always have like really deep things to say.
Yes, the things I say always guide you in ways that are real.
Yes, that's real was the word. We were both going to say real. We were having a real moment there. Real. See, I did it again. Oh, hey, is that Mag over there? You doing all right, Mag?
Actually, unusually well. I woke today with fewer worries than in quite some days.
So you were talking to that old gnome last night, and you kept saying like, my teacher with my travel visions, or I don't really remember. What was that?
Yeah, that gnome, that's my old teacher Fidget.
Oh, that's right. That's what you were saying. My old teacher Fidget. Okay, yes, it's coming back. It's coming back.
So everyone's wait, where's Vadim? Where's Vadim?
And at that moment, Vadim sort of walks blearily into the tent, scratching the back of his neck and kind of lets out a big yawn. Oh, good morning, everybody. Oh, my head is killing me. How about you?
Ao sticks out an arm. She's like, lay on hands, man.
That's such a good idea. How did I not think of that? And Vadim mutters a quick prayer to Pharasma, and like a slight glow appears around his hand at the edge of his temple, and he looks much more alert afterwards.
Oh, sorry, I meant me.
Oh, yes. Give me a moment. Hang on, Ao. And he sort of mutters some quiet prayers to himself, and then a few moments later is able to offer a lay on hands onto Ao's temple as well.
Okay, we all good? We all good?
Better.
Okay. So, my old teacher, I sent him a letter a little while ago asking him to come because, well, to be honest, I've been feeling like I just don't have enough. Like my magic just, like I don't have the right tools in my tool belt to help you guys. So I asked Fidget to come because I've always learned so much from him. And so he's going to help me retrain a spell. But to do that, it's going to take about 4 weeks. So I can't do any traveling. Like I got to work at this for about 4 weeks before we can go back to the lighthouse or anything to do any other investigating.
Wait, Tril, you're not going to miss the Otari Memorial 500, right?
Well, that's in 4 weeks. It actually times out perfectly. You wouldn't believe it. It's almost like somebody wrote it.
Oh,
That's
that's
very lucky. It was
relief.
your idea. I'd hate to have you miss it.
I know.
Absolutely.
I could feel the adrenaline rising.
No, Fidget's even going to be there for it. It's fantastic.
It's wonderful.
You know, I'm going to be kind of busy. I just want you guys to know, like, I'm not trying to ignore you or anything, but I really want to get this right. You know?
Thinking back to the last 28 days, I'm a very different Skull Crusher now than I was 28 days ago. I hadn't met any of you.
This has all been under 28 days? Dang.
I think it's been 27, actually.
Right, so 28 days ago,
Wow.
yeah, I'd yet to meet any of you, and
28 days ago, I was still just singing on the docks, creeping kids out.
yeah, and if I got really mad, I'd just punch a tree. You know, I had nowhere to direct
I mean,
it.
you still do that sometimes.
That's true, but now it feels more optional at any rate.
I was just touching people's teeth and stealing stuff from them.
I remember that.
I think you
Yeah.
still do that sometimes.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I was both thinking back and thinking to like what the next 28 days might have. I don't know. It was kind of a flash forward, flashback thing. Time is a circle, you know?
That reminds me, Norman.
Wibbly wobbly.
And Mag reaches down to her belt to a very, very, very small pouch. I mean, just the smallest pouch. The drawstrings might as well be like, 3 hairs thick. And she tosses this tiny little, it's about the size of a copper piece, over to Norman. I wanted you to have these. And Norman moves one fingertip inside just to open the top of the pouch and sees inside several dozen leech teeth.
Ao is very moved by this. She looks.
Oh,
down
is
the
it? Are you
pouch.
AO at the moment?
Yeah. She looks in there. She's like, leech teeth. Norman would like these, but Mag, I love them. She like picks one up and like licks it slightly,
Yeah.
and then puts it back in the pouch and attaches it to her bandolier of various, it's like a fisherman's vest, but with all different pockets and like a bandelier's vest.
Yeah.
Bandolier of teeth.
As Ao does that, Vadim sort of grimaces as she licks at the tooth and just mutters to himself, "Oh, that can't be sanitary."
So as the 4 of you finish catching up, there are a couple things that I have questions about how you might deal with them. And they're both related to these icons of the Rose Guard that you've collected. But I'm sort of wondering what you're planning to do with the cooperative blade, Vol Rajani's ancient weapon that Carmen Rajani stole and that you said you would return to him. And also I was wondering what you might do with Thresholds of Truth, Zarmavdian's spellbook that you are borrowing from the bookstore in town that it doesn't seem like there is as pressing a return date on, but still there was not an open-ended lending to you that you got.
Tril wants to return Zarmavdian's book because that's not really of any use to us since none of us can read it. right? And it's only useful to source to people who can use books for magic, right?
Well, we can use it to retrain into the Eldritch Researcher archetype.
Oh, right.
Is what I
We're
remember,
not to retrain,
right?
but just to take that,
Take it,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, you're right. Let's hold on to it. Good memory.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, we can hold on to that still.
Okay, and what about the cooperative blade?
I think Vadim would say, look, I know we've had our differences with Carmen Rajani, but it is his family's blade, and I think we should return it to him. He's made his mistakes, but perhaps with the blade, he can find a fresh start for himself somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, no objection from Mag, especially since they've sort of given their word about it.
I mean, I'm keeping these thieves' tools, right?
Oh, yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
But Mag, this was also from the Dawnflower. Aren't you pretty close with everyone at the Dawnflower? I don't know. This one's a tricky one. Like, he stole it. And I get that Menemez was the one who gave it the Dawnflower because Menemez was going to have it because Menemez was a jerk about it. But it's also like a symbol of the town.
It's true, Tril. I've always thought of it as a symbol of the town, and I would feel some satisfaction at its restoration to the Dawnflower. I also know we gave Carmen our word.
It's a sticky wicket we found ourselves in. Vadim, what do you think?
I think we gave our word, and who are we if we cannot stand by our word?
Just saying, it seems like we could keep it, but, whatever.
Whatever his other flaws, Carmen Rajani fought well against us. And with great heart. He has made many mistakes, but with the blade he has at least a chance to make a new life for himself. And perhaps its good-hearted nature of cooperation may guide him towards a brighter future than the one he has created for himself here. The town does not need it in the way that Carmen needs that blade. It's a symbol of hope for him. And I think it behooves us, in light of all the darkness we have seen, to try and offer what light we can to those who are affected by Gauntlet.
And plus, if he messes around again, we could just go bop him and take it back.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, we can definitely always steal it back.
His sword skill is pathetic.
It wouldn't even take us that long.
Yeah, Mag, you and I could take that guy apart. I mean, shit. What a punk.
It sounds like the party is hanging on to thresholds of truth and is going to bring the cooperative blade back to Carmen. When you get the cooperative blade back to Carmen, he looks at you and says, I knew you'd be people of your word. This is here in this dank, messed up, campaign poster-filled cavern that he lives in now. And I'm going to be a man of my word, too. I'm taking this sword, I'm heading straight to Absalom, and I'm boarding the first ship to Nidal. I'm going to make a new life for myself. I'm going to make the Rajani name mean something again. You won't hear from me again. I promise you.
If you can, keep an eye out for a ship called the Octopus's Mother. Tell the captain that Tril sent you.
Okay, I'll do that. I appreciate that you recognized what this sword means to my family and means to me. So thank you.
For what it's worth, Carmen, I hope I do hear of you again. Make the Rajani name a proud one.
And he heads off, holding the sword, like putting the sword back in a sheath at his hip. And he carries his pack out into the windy, cloudy day and starts walking in the direction of Absalom. As you walk back to town, you see him disappear over the horizon, just a tiny little dot. You get back to Otari at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Tril waves to everyone, says,
Okay, I gotta go meet my teacher now.
Good luck.
and Tril bounds off to Crow's Casks.
Okay. And here we go. We have reached the end of this first book of this adventure, and with the immediate threat to Otari stopped for now, the heroes all get some time to retrain and live in town for a bit to prepare for the next push downward into the unknown. So I think some people are going to do a fair amount of retraining right now here in this month while Tril is learning this new spell from Fidget. We're looking at 4 weeks of downtime, 28 days. Retraining most things takes 7 days, 5 if you're retraining at a place that supports you in the town of Otari, which at this point there are many of. The people in town love you at this point.
They do.
Retraining things
Makes
like
sense.
class, I agree. You've done more for them than I've done for anybody in my entire life.
That's going to be a good campaign slogan when we all run for mayor.
Yep, against each other, splitting the vote maybe, but you know. Retraining things like class features takes a month. Since Tril is retraining one of her ancestry-granted spells, I'm ruling that it's going to take a full month of Tril working with Fidget to do that. Beyond retraining, you can also earn income with either performance or one of your lore skills, or you can use a different skill to earn income at one of the many businesses around town that, again, support you. At Nothing Bundt Kobolds, you can earn income using society to help these firebombing kobolds sell their esoteric baked goods to people around town. At Otari Market, you can earn income using intimidation by helping Keelan O'Lathanar scare off would-be shoplifters. At the Crook's Nook, you can earn income taking on jobs from the Thieves Guild using the thievery skill. And I neglected to mention this when you first got his support, but you can earn income at Menhemes Manor using society by way of tutoring his children as they attend classes at Alimora Inkelholtz's schoolhouse. Also, along the way, there are a couple of documents that AO or Norman, as the only Aklo speaker in the group, can decode, but each of those will take a day of downtime as well. I'm imagining AO will probably have both of these translations done before the end of the downtime, so Zoe, you can feel free to let me know as we're going through what everyone is doing when you want to jump into either of these two documents. And just to remind you, these two documents that you recovered from this like super high security library that are going to take some time to decode are 1, Gauntlight's technical blueprints, which will let you understand the true function of the lighthouse, and 2, Belcora Harovex's journal. Okay.
Can I just say that it's really funny to think about in real life who you would like to tutor you most, Vadim, Mag, or AO? You'd learn really different stuff. Let's be honest.
I'm sorry, Vadim.
Yeah, correct.
Really?
I want to learn between which rib do you knife someone.
Then I
Yeah.
think the team is your choice. Yeah.
Could probably tell you that, yeah.
Mag would give you like legit useful herb and like apothecary lessons, I feel like. And AO would just be like a bunch of attitude.
You don't know that?
It would be like a lot of false, a lot of fake news.
Oh yeah. Lot of
And like,
a lot of
this is
dubious
totally
knowledge.
true. A lot of dubious knowledge. Like, oh yeah, no, this is absolutely true.
Yeah.
That tree, that tree's, Winklepuss tree.
Just always bubble in B.
That's definitely a vinegar rune.
Hey, it's a real animal. Come on. A real insect.
I know,
Not an
just
insect. I'm
teasing.
sorry. Not even an insect. It's got
Okay.
8 legs.
Let's do it. 1 month of downtime. We're going to bounce around from player to player, figuring out what your characters are doing with the month. Along the way, I'm sure you're going to be restocking supplies, buying equipment, transferring runes around, and that kind of thing, but we're not focusing on that right now. That's all going to happen off mic. So, we start off on the afternoon of the 27th of Gosrin. Tril and Fidget are training. It's a training montage.
Ba-da-da, da-da-da.
Each time I go to you, Tril, I'm going to want you to make a spell attack roll, okay?
Okay.
To tell me how this meeting with Fidget goes. Fidget, on this day, is resting against a small hill and has set a can up on a fence post. As Tril stands back, ready to blast the fence post and the can with some of her new magic. Go ahead and give me an attack roll.
Okay. That is a 26.
And a jolt of electricity slams into the can. It dances around for a second and blows apart as Fidget nods to himself. Like,
The training is going quite well.
Yeah!
let's go next to Mag. What is Mag doing for the first chunk of this downtime?
She has decided to retire and give new life to Haplo's bastard sword. Let's say she is at the newly vacated main forge at Blades for Glades, having gotten the spare key from Carmen on his way out of town, to melt down Haplo's bastard sword and to reforge it into a new weapon.
Interesting.
Oh my.
Cool.
We go from there over to Ao. What is Ao up to?
The very first thing that Ao wants to do is translate Belcora's diary. I think after her experience with the light, she's very interested in what's in there.
Where is Ao going to do this, do you think?
I think at Rin's shop.
So Ao finds a corner of Rin's shop and starts poring over Belcora's journal. Again, this is written in Aklo, which I would guess is not a commonly written language. So this maybe is taking a little bit of extra focus from Ao to really get through it.
Bollock was so cute in school today, and I just didn't even know.
And it's that 500
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. Her signing Belcora Azenray over and over on the page.
You may be surprised by the contents of this journal, Zoe.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so this book is written in the first person by Belcora herself throughout her life. The document is filled with long sequences of self-flattery, punctuated by sections of total rage. The first sections of the book, written in a childlike hand, describe her childhood growing up in exile from the city of Absalom. You can deduce from the retrospective commentary early in this journal that when she was 6 years old, her family's many homes in Absalom were forcibly seized by the state. And her family was then exiled from the Isle of Kortos, where they lived in relative squalor afterwards. There are endless descriptions that Belcora writes about how it was a grave injustice for the state to have done this. It's an endlessly recurring theme, the resentment of her family's exile seemingly finding its way onto every single one of these journals, of the journal's pages. Ao is able to find oblique references to people whose blood repaid debts that the Harovex family owed to a list of strangely named gods that Ao has previously never heard of. These are bizarre, unknowable entities that the family seemingly sacrificed, in Belcora's words, nobodies to. None of the people sacrificed by the Harovex family to repay these debts are given names, but Belcora does occasionally describe why a given person was made better by being sacrificed, or why the city was improved by a given person's death. Eventually, Belcora describes the moment when she and her family were rounded up by the Star Watch, Absalom's elite city guard. Ao's able to gather that the city had collected just mountains of evidence of kidnappings and murders perpetrated by the family in the back rooms and basements of their various manors scattered around the city.
Yikes.
At this point, maybe Rin is coming by offering Ao like a hot tea as the day stretches on and Ao continues diving into this journal.
The shit is dark, Ren.
Yes, I would guess so. There are all these descriptions of the conditions that she lived in during her childhood, which to you probably seem completely fine. But Belcora's journal includes many, many descriptions of conversations with her family members who would regale her with stories of the homes that the family once lived in Absalom and the luxury that they all expected and deserved, stoking within young Belcora an all-consuming sense of resentment about being denied a lifestyle that she saw as her birthright. From the very first pages, among the names of the strange elder gods that her family worshipped, you see a name that you recognize, Nimbaloth. In fact, Belcora repeatedly refers to herself as the Harbinger of Nimbaloth, apparently a title that her family bestowed upon her from a very young age. And this title seems to carry with it a responsibility that Belcora takes quite seriously. As the journal continues, Ao reads descriptions of visions, images in dreams that Belcora believes were direct communications from Nimbaloth herself. And those visions eventually led Belcora, at the age of 17, to run away from her home and return to the Isle of Kortos and plot her ultimate revenge against the city of Absalom. The last sections of the journal describe how her visions led her to a very specific spot on the Isle of Kortos, just a few dozen miles away from Absalom. Long stretches of the journal are dedicated to the work of decoding these visions to find a very particular location on a lonely stretch of wooded coast. The precision that she uses to make sure she finds the exact right spot is noteworthy to you. And then once she finds the location, Belcora writes about how she used magic and connections afforded to her by her loyalty to Nimbaloth to erect a magical lighthouse, Gauntlight, on the particular spot her visions guided her towards. She dug straight down, deep beneath the lighthouse, to reach a shrine that she had seen in her visions. Something she calls the Empty Vault. And it's at this point that she starts planning her revenge. She builds sprawling underground dungeons, which she called the Abomination Vaults, as a way to entice violent beasts and other creatures she could hold in her thrall. And there's some details about the contents of the Abomination Vaults within the journal, but eventually the entries get less and less frequent as she comes closer to completing her eventual plan for revenge. And these are some details that you're able to pick up. She built laboratories dedicated to flesh warping, manipulating the flesh of other creatures to turn them into something horrible and destructive. She built arenas where she pit her captured enemies against monstrous champions for her own amusement. She built prisons, torture chambers, and links to the Darklands deep below the earth. And she built a great temple way down at the bottom of her vaults where, and this is a quote from the journal, once the Empty Death herself brushed against this fragile world. She mentions her minions only in the abstract, usually bragging about how many she'd attracted to serve her in creating this complex. And the only one that she ever mentions by name is her, quote, amusingly vain apprentice, Volek Azrene. One of the last entries describes how this apprentice arrived from a community of upstart and meddlesome drow below to serve Belcora, but there is no more mention of this drow community afterwards. And that's what Ao gets as she closes the back cover of this journal.
And I feel like she stayed up late reading this. Like, it's once she gets into it, she just sits there in a chair in her room at Rin's place and just pours through it.
Using a little plume of foxfire to read by.
That's right.
I want to see that fan art. That sounds really cute.
And I think there's a part of this that really, I mean, like, it's fascinating. It's horrifying. It's, like, interesting for her to piece this together. And also Belcora, when this, like, moment she runs away from home, Ao is 17 as well. So this is, like, I don't know. I think there's, like, I don't know. I don't want to say it, like, speaks to her and that she's like, oh, that's me. But there's, like, this sort of core similarity of, like, a moment in your coming of age-ness where you're like, that's it, I'm taking action, things have to be different, that she, like, relates to and is, like, sort of interested by and horrified by.
Let's check in with Vadim.
I think Vadim has probably spent the first week meditating on the Whispering Reeds and trying to think about how he could use it as a weapon against Nimbleoth. But also, as part of that, he's going to try and retrain his level 4 feet, Mercy, into inspiring resilience. And so, like, thinking about Pharasma and his relationship with her and sort of trying to think about how he would reevaluate his command style, I guess. Partially.
Yeah, so Vadim turns inside. Inspiring Resilience, just to get gamey for a second, is a feat that only Knights of Lastwall have access to. So I'm guessing that this retraining maybe, tell me if I'm wrong, looks like Vadim considering his past and tapping into his time in the Knights of Lastwall to take on this new ability in combat.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. I think he probably traveled after the fall of Lastwall with Ulthun II from Vigil to Absalom and joined him in the Precipice Quarter. So he probably spent a considerable amount of time with the remainder of the Knights of Lastwall, as well as, his father was a cavalryman.
This feat that you're taking helps you protect your friends against emotion, fear, and mental effects, basically.
Yeah, so he probably thinks about, like, his father and Ulthun and even his brother Radu marshaling charges, basically. Holding the line would be my sense.
So as Vadim is entering into this contemplative sort of attempt to change his tactics in combat, we see Tril and Fidget standing near Inkleholt's Manor, and there's a weather vane at the top of the house. And Fidget nods at Tril and points way up high at the top of this manor. And I'd like a spell attack roll, please.
Tril narrows her eyes and plays a somewhat electric sounding chord on her lute. That's only a 13.
The weather vane freezes solid as this brass chicken is frozen completely in place. And Fidget shakes his head. And then, what is Mag doing?
Mag has a couple of things that she wants to work on this month as well. There's a certain feat that Mag took that involved, if she was taking on something that required the athletics skill, that would give her a certain assurance about the result of that skill.
This is the first time I'm hearing of this.
Well, there's a reason for that, Lars. And that's because it's useless. So I look forward to somebody on our Discord explaining to me exactly what assurance is good for. As far as I'm concerned, it seems to be good for thinking you're going to trip something tiny and then having it not work. So Mag is going to move on from that. And so instead of using assurance to try to trip things rather than my plus 13 athletics modifier, which seems to work out better every time I use it, she's cultivating her own charisma. I'm picking up the intimidating prowess feat. Maybe Mag will just give Keelano a couple of weeks of free labor just to practice her glower. In that context of the marketplace with the newfound respect of the locals, Mag hones her nonverbal intimidation skills so as to be able to intimidate people from afar and without speaking, and with whom she doesn't share a language, etc. The first of several adjustments to make to Mag.
So Mag, as she stands outside the Otari market to tap into her deeper, scary person, what is Ao doing?
So I think the morning after she's read Belcora's diary, she comes out and she's like, Rin, I've been thinking, I mean, I'm not starting to understand the light, but I think I'm starting to understand some things. I think the light knows who I am. Talk to me. Does that make any sense to you? Get real with me, Rin. You're always real with me.
I must look to the stars to find an answer to your question. I will do it. I will gaze upon them.
Yeah, you do that and get back to me with your real thoughts. But in the meantime, I've been drawn to this idea, and she prattles on for probably 15 minutes in a very self-indulgent way, and eventually gets to the point of, I don't even know if it's about tricking other things anymore, It's illusion is everything, but I think it's about making people be tricked by me, not by stuff, right?
It does sound like that's what it's about, yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think when I use my astronomy lore later and you use yours,
right,
we'll definitely find that when we look at the stars.
Right, of course.
Surely astronomy lore is good for something, right?
I hope it is, yes.
Yeah, we all do. Anyways, so I'm just thinking I don't need to be tricking wands. I can't even do it that well, but what if I were better at tricking people? And she's looking to get Rin to help her switch out her trick magical items skill feat for backup disguise.
Okay. So, Rin and Ao spend a number of days trying on layers of disguises. I'm imagining it's kind of we talk about Arrested Development a lot on this show, but who's the private investigator played by
Gene
Martin
Parmesan?
Muller?
Gene Parmesan.
Yeah, so I'm imagining that Ao is doing the Gene Parmesan thing and surprising Rin in the least expected places for a few days to hone her craft.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
That's right.
Okay,
It's
great.
like the Pink Panther movies when the other guy pounces on him as soon as he gets home and they have to fight.
Right. Something for the boomers out there. The Pink
welcome,
Panther
everybody.
movies.
The nice current reference.
Yep.
Peter Sellers definitely aged well.
Unlike my 20-year-old sitcom
Yeah.
that I...
Yeah. Eventually we're going to be citing silent movies here.
Okay, what's Vadim up to for this next chunk of time?
Honestly, I'm not really sure. I think he sort of retrained the big thing he wanted to.
You want
I
to earn
guess
some income?
Yeah, sure.
Where do you want to earn
maybe-
income? You got performance and lore anywhere you want it. And it's society at Nothing But Kobolds, intimidation at Atari Market, thievery at Crook's Nook, or society to tutor the kids at Menhemez Manor.
I'm not proficient in any of those. I'm untrained in all of those. So, I guess he'd try and use his undead lore then to work around the Dawnflower aiding with medicine or, burials or anything that they need doing, basically making sure that people who are getting buried will not come back.
Got it. So they have two openings at the Dawnflower Library. One is to do relatively simple custodial work around the library, and the other is to get more involved with more difficult cases. Which one of those two jobs would you like to take from Vandy Banderdash?
Let's try the more difficult cases. Why not?
Okay.
Love a challenge.
Love a challenge. Go ahead and give me an undead lore check as you try to use what you know about the undead to tend to these religious maladies that have befallen the people at the Dawnflower Library.
All right. Let's see how we do. 10.
Okay. 10 is a critical failure, meaning that you are fired from there. You can't continue at the tasks. Your reputation suffers, potentially making it difficult for you to find rewarding jobs in that community in the future.
Oh, boy.
Look, you tried to stake one living person, and everyone loses their mind.
No letter of recommendation.
Oh my god.
So Vadim is thrown out on his butt from the Dawnflower Library. And let's see what Mag is up to now.
Well, after Mag returns from the Dawnflower Library, where she needs to sort of vouch for Vadim, this kind of thing is really not typical to his character, although I will say he does get a bit animated when it comes to matters of the undead. Having sort of soothed, settled nerves over there, Mag now has a good deal of time that she wants to invest in improving her expertise with and use of her new weapon. Her new weapon is an enormous hammer. It is a maul.
So Mag has melted down Haplo's bastard sword into a new maul.
Yes. An enormous, long-handled, two-handed only hammer. And she's fashioned the head. It has two
Teeth?
two smashing surfaces on it,
Oh, okay.
which makes the head a kind of four-sided square up toward the top. And into this, she's carved intricate patterns of the vines of rose bushes running up from the haft all the way up to the head. And then as it reaches the four sides at the head, she's carved 4 sigils in. On one side, she has carved a spiral looped into the tendrils of rose vines, of thorny rose vines. On the next side, a fox paw holding a small flame. On the next side, a lyre. And on the next side, a lacewing.
So you've taken the metal that Haplo used and turned it into something more suitable to what Mag's true nature is and also celebrates her friends.
Yes. And her true nature, of course, is bashing things very hard.
Big lady who hits shit.
Yeah. So the big lady is going to be doing less slicing and dicing and more smashing and bashing.
Okay.
And in service of this, there are a couple of mechanical things for Mag, some skills for Mag to practice, and some mechanical things over on the old character sheet.
So Mag spends the next bit of time honing her craft with this maul in ways that will maybe become apparent as we continue into further episodes.
Quite.
At this point, Tril and Fidget are set up on the docks at the waterfront. There are fish swimming around on the docks, or under the docks. Fidget points down at the fish and nods at Tril. And I need a spell attack roll.
Well, this is harder than shooting fish in a barrel.
And it's a 29.
And electricity arcs all over the water, zapping all of these fish, which then slowly rise to the surface, belly side up. And Fidget nods at Tril one more time.
Time for sushi!
Is that Tril's new catchphrase?
Okay.
Time for sushi!
That's it.
Yes. Sadly, this fish is now deeply cooked, but I take your point. AO, then. What is AO up to as their month continues?
I think AO is going to spend most of the rest of the month out doing deliveries for Nothing Bundt Kobold to earn some money.
Okay. You can either do a risky delivery to the wealthier shops around town, potentially burning Nothing But Kobold's reputation since they are a clandestine organization, or you can more anonymously sell this to less wealthy clients. What do you think?
Well, I think AO's out using her new backup disguise ability to impersonate the ghost of Otari and sell impossible cakes that appear to be various artifacts he might have had to people and then are revealed. So I think we're going risky wealthy.
Okay, let's do risky wealthy. Give me a society check, please.
Risky wealthy. The AO Ukiyo story.
And that looks like a 15, so on that first day that AO tries to sell these Bundt cakes that are not Bundt cakes. They are nothing. Bundt, whatever. I forget how that works. That's going to be
It doesn't. That's the thing.
They're anything Bundt.
That's a failure, meaning that Ao is going to get 3 silver pieces, but can continue onwards. What is Vadim doing now that he's been fired from the Downflower Library for the rest of the month?
I think he maybe is just sort of taking some time to continue to read the Whispering Reeds, and when that gets too dark for him, to like sort of kick around the beaches and sort of, he hasn't really had any quiet time in a long time, so probably just taking some time to rest.
So Vadim settles in for a deep rest as Ao continues trying to sell some cakes. Let's get another roll of society.
This time she's dressed up as Jarl Mesman, and the cake looks like the wolf. That's a 19.
And sadly, it's another 3 silver pieces as these wealthy clientele refuse to buy these cakes.
A wolf-shaped cake.
From Jarl Desmond.
From Jarl Mesman, yes. It's weird that didn't work. Mag continues to practice with the mall as Tril is now learning her final lesson from Fidget. And Fidget is sad. The two of them are eating a meal. He believes that this process of training will never be done. He reaches a fork down into a branzino that he's eating. It's cold. He screams, irritated at the low quality of this fish that he's eating. If only someone could funnel some energy into this fish to heat it up.
Tril kind of shuffles her loot that's just in her back. Doesn't even get a whole cord out. Just to get a little bit of a spark. And that's a 26.
And with that, the fish is blasted with electricity. Fidget takes a bite of the fish, puts it in his mouth, and he says to you,
There is nothing more I can teach you.
as Tril now knows Electric Arc and does not know Ray of Frost.
Yaha!
It's at this moment, as Mag continues training and Vadim continues being a complete bum, that Ao attempts to deliver one more cake.
This time, she's retrained her backup disguise yet again to appear as Mag, and the cake is Tril in her pouch.
Sweet.
So she's like a half-size Mag running around town.
Yeah, with an even tinier, accordingly downscaled Tril in her pouch. That's a 25 for the Tril cake.
And the people love this Tril cake. The Mag delivery Tril-shaped cake sends
It's a hit. I'm a hit.
Absolutely. Tril once more a hit, sends the well-heeled members of Otari society into
Nothing but Tril cake.
Exactly. The Nothing Bundt Tril cake sends them into an ecstasy that I would only describe as completely inappropriate.
Rather than listomania, a little Trilomania.
Yes. That means that for every day remaining, for every day remaining in these 28 days, Ao is going to earn 1 gold piece and 5 silver pieces as she has her clientele lined up and delivers cake after cake after cake after cake.
I think you mean Tril cake after Tril cake?
That's right.
After Tril cake?
That's right. People are going nuts for the Tril cake. People ask Ao, disguised as Mag, over and over again, "Where did you get this?" And, of course, the secret is safe. As the kobolds continue baking small cakes that look like one of you. They just go flying out the door, which is, of course,
Nothing weird about this.
Bombed out pile of rubble, just emitting cakes shaped like Tril for the remainder of the month.
Well, now I know what I want for my birthday.
Okay, I think that we've covered a lot of things. Has everybody done all the retraining and earning income that they want to do, or should we check in on anyone else?
Last thing I need to do is look at the templates of Gauntlet, or the floor plans.
Okay.
Rich with Tril cake funds, Ao is finally ready to learn again.
So, Ao spends a day, like she did at the beginning of the month, in Rin's workshop. She looks over these many different blueprints of Gauntlet, decoding the Aklo written all over them, and reaches a number of conclusions. She sees that the walls of Gauntlet extend far below the ruins that you've explored so far, passing through 8 different dungeon levels and finally terminating at the 9th level below the surface, where its deep foundation centers on an ominous chamber where long ago, according to the notes, Nimbleoth herself once physically brushed against this world. This point where Nimbleoth brushed against our world is used as the source of power to infuse the walls, floors, and ceilings of each of Gauntlet's levels with power. Ao learns that Gauntlet can't be damaged by normal means. Its walls are impenetrable and impervious to any attempt to breach them by anybody except for followers of Nimbleoth. And she realizes that Gauntlet is in a state of diminished functionality, but that it can be boosted and made more powerful by swapping in a series of magical lighthouse lenses that focus Nimbleoth's baleful gaze. These are lenses so powerful that even Belcora takes special care with them. Once you swap in these special magical lenses, this artifact, Gauntlet, gains significantly greater power, including the ability to reach all the way to Absalom and to activate its effects every minute.
Oh.
Whoa.
To activate Gauntlet, a creature must be in its deepest portion. And from this point, a creature can observe the world outside remotely through Gauntlet's lens, including any area Gauntlet's beam can reach. And this can do 2 things. 1, you can do this once per month. You can point the lighthouse, focusing a pale blue beam, and it will raise very weak undead within 1 mile. However, if Gauntlet is fully restored, the undead are much, much more powerful. In game terms, it'll create level 15 undead, and it can do that every minute. The second thing that Gauntlet can do, again, once per month, a pale blue beam shines from the lens, and you can the user can transport 1 creature of 4th level or less that is physically within Gauntlet to any point within the lighthouse's radius. And if Gauntlet is fully restored, any number of creatures within Gauntlet can be transported instantaneously. So it can, in the blink of an eye, teleport an entire army basically anywhere it wants to.
And I think we've seen it do each of those things once. We saw it reanimate a bunch of dead in the graveyard, but it also teleported a Scalathrex into the graveyard from within the keep.
So when it's fully restored, Gauntlet will be able to transport all of the Scalathraxes and all of everything else straight onto the streets of Absalom.
Ooh.
I'm sure it's fine, though, because we've killed them all. Probably won't be an issue.
We killed both of them, so
yeah,
no sweat.
And that's what Ao learns about Gauntlet.
Well, I don't love it. Ao folds up the maps. Troubled but intrigued by this power.
And Ao settles into bed that night, as does Tril, confident in her new electrical magical power. Mag brandishing this enormous maul, confidently having changed how she relates to what she does best, bash people. And Vadim is still nursing his wounds of being fired from the Dawnflower Library.
Just seems so unfair.
As the sun rises on Desnus the 24th, 1 month later, the streets are abuzz with word of the Otari Memorial 500, a competition between the 3 wealthiest houses of Otari to design the permanent resting place of the remains of Otari Ilvashti. And the 4 of you will be the judges of these 3 monuments that the Inkelholtzes, the Chertels, and the Menhemezes have built. And we will pick up from there next time.
Oh boy.
I wonder who will choose.
The Roots of Ruin is a Tabletop Gold production produced under the Paizo Incorporated Community Use Policy. The Roots of Ruin uses trademarks and/or copyrights owned by Paizo Inc., used under Paizo's Community Use Policy. We are expressly prohibited from charging you to use or access this content. Paizo does not recognize, endorse, or sponsor this project in any way. Original characters and content are the property of Tabletop Gold. For more information about Paizo Inc. and Paizo products, visit paizo.com. We at Tabletop Gold would love to hear from you. Email us at letters@tabletopgold.com and find all our social links at tabletopgold.com.